listen to today's Place podcast. And I'm Luke. And I thought I'd jump on another hot reaction video coming straight from the internet. No, I'm just playing. Definitely, before we get started, a good story about a young man who was falsely accused with the ultimate threat. Grape. Yes, I did say grape. Young man spent 4 years in prison. The crime he did not commit at all. Totally falsely accused. The laws do have to be changed. But before we jump into this hot video, I need for you to like, subscribe, and share. Definitely share our work. Put the work out there. We definitely need you to help out and get them our podcast across to everyone and out to everyone. By all means, we're gonna bring you nothing but the best in this arena. So definitely would like for you to put it out there. As I said, like, subscribe, and share. And we're gonna go ahead and try to jump on into this video and let us know what you think. Definitely share, comment in the comment section. Leave a comment, leave a heart, or a like. Make sure you spam that like button because it's important to get out. Like I said, let us know that you like what we're doing out here. So with no further ado, we're gonna go ahead and try to jump into this video and see what you feel about it. Tell me what you think. And it's coming from a girl, Melanie. I forgot to mention, big shout out to Melanie. Kind of missed her, hadn't seen her in a minute. Kind of all disbanded after Kevin passed. Kind of didn't see a lot of her, I guess, because I don't know. I went back and forth, her and the media tutorial. Two of my favorite podcasts. But like I said, I hadn't seen her in a minute, so it's good to see she's back and doing what things. So. Situated. Let me go on the other side over here and check this out. Okay, now let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing off and going here. How you guys doing today? I hope everybody feeling well and doing well today. For the most part. Anyway, let's jump on into this video, see what they're talking about here.
We're following some developing news this midday. Today, Elizabeth Coast admitted she put an innocent man behind bars.
I'm Andy Fox, Miss Coast, and I want to know why you lied. I want to know why you lied and put a man in a prison for 4 years and committed perjury. I want to know why you lied and put Mr. Montgomery in prison. Do you have anything to say to him?
Montgomery went to prison for this right here. Like I said, this is the
man
Melanie
has
King
spent
podcast.
4 years in state prison because a woman deliberately and maliciously lied about him. 4 years of his life stolen, his reputation shattered, his opportunities were derailed, his freedom taken, all because of her false accusations. And what does the judge hand her? Not even a year, not 6 months, just a week in jail for 2 months, as if she committed a minor traffic offense. It's an insult to justice.
Yeah, that does have to change. I believe you should get the same time, or at least have to spend the same amount of time he spent in jail, because he was in there for nothing, but you're only slapping her on the wrist. Because I think that would change the way that I understand. I'm not insensitive to people, to young ladies having to come out when these things actually happen. But when we also have to set a standard for when it's not happening. And so I think that's important as well, that we set a standard for the people. Like I said, it's a lot of men can get falsely. Anybody can get falsely accused or something. But we also have to protect the people that get, because they're actually doing time. So this young man did 4 years in prison, and they're only slapping her on the wrist for what quintessentially is a lie. You told a lie on a man, and he spent 4 years in prison. and they're talking about you're going to do weekend visits to prison. That's totally not fair. But we have to set the tone to stop the people that didn't get this type of behavior. Okay, we also have to set the tone for them so that you don't easily do this. Like, it's not something that, I would attempt to do. If I knew I was going to get 4 years for it, then I would think twice about, falsely accusing anybody. But we also have to set the tone for that too as well. So let's keep on. Let's get back into the video, see what she says.
If the roles were reversed, we all know the outcome would have been far more severe.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated lie that destroyed a man's life, and she gets a slap on the wrist. Where's the accountability? Where's the fairness? Now imagine this. You're sentenced to 45 years in prison for a crime you didn't commit.
Wow, he got 45 years in prison for that, and he spent 4. You can't make this stuff up, man. This is crazy.
Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well,
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened to Jonathan Montgomery, a man whose life was ripped apart by a lie. The story begins back in 2007. Elizabeth Colt's mother caught her looking at sexually explicit material online. Disturbed and pressing for answers, she demanded to know why her daughter was viewing such content. In an attempt to explain herself, or perhaps to shift blame, Elizabeth told her mother that Jonathan Montgomery had introduced her to it.
You know what? This is kind of funny because I believe this happens a lot, because when we ask people stuff and it's about taking accountability for your behavior, and I think a lot of times when these things happen, I'm not saying, because I know some men do it as well, but like I say, most of the time I'm saying it's a woman in the place of doing this right here, where, okay, well, I'm put in a position where I don't want to come clean. I don't want to tell you the truth. I don't want to let you know the truth. So I would rather a person goes to prison than tell the truth about how I got here and what am I doing. This is bad behavior as well. This is unacceptable. I hope it's something major, something more major than her and the incident that she given about her reading or divulging into sexual explicit stuff. So I hope it's more than that, because if this is the case, this is really sad.
Then came the devastating claim that when she was 10 years old, Montgomery had sexually assaulted her in her grandmother's backyard. No physical evidence, no witness, just one accusation. Still, the police managed to track down Montgomery, who had since moved to Iowa. Elizabeth identified him, and despite the fact that her story had glaring inconsistencies, Montgomery was arrested and charged. Now, here's the kicker. The district attorney's office proceeded with the case, fully aware of the lack of concrete evidence. No DNA, no corroborating testimony, no timeline that actually made sense. Just the unverified word of someone trying to cover up her own actions. And yet, they pushed forward and secured a conviction. Think about that. A man's entire life stolen based on a single accusation.
Wow. That's deep. We got a lot of messed up things happening in this world, but that's deep right there. For this man to spend 4 years in prison for a crime he didn't have anything to do, wasn't even a part of, never happened, and to accuse the young man of this horrible thing, it's an outrage. That's really bad. And for you, and this is what was scary, even in, I know people feel a certain way about the Bill Cosby case as well, but to be, it used to be you had to have evidence. You had to have something to prove. There was no evidence or anything proving that this young man did this thing, but he got 45 years. Think about that. That could be your son. That could be anybody's son, brother, cousin. That's that's going too far. It's going too far. 45 years.
Never questioned deeply enough, never scrutinized hard enough. This isn't just a miscarriage of justice. It's a willful failure of the very system that claims to protect the innocent.
Hampton prosecutors say Elizabeth Coast's story was specific, credible, and most importantly, consistent through hours of relentless questioning.
It's really hard to keep up with the same lie. It takes a special type of person to be able to really pull off something of this magnitude. There was a cousin who came forth and remembered back then the relationship between the alleged victim and the alleged suspect in the case, Mr. Montgomery.
Bell says Coast's cousin and her mother told police Montgomery was infatuated with her. They said Coast began to look at pornography after she was sexually abused. Prosecutors noted the behavioral changes as evidence the rape really happened.
Let me be absolutely clear. He was 100% innocent. And what was the evidence against him? None. Not a shred of physical proof.
All they had was her word. See, think about that. All they had was her word. Her word said, this is what went on. And this is what created the behavior that my mother caught me doing. This stemmed from that. This is where it all comes from.
This entire case boiled down to nothing more than a he said, she said scenario. And yet, based solely on her word, a judge saw fit to sentence an innocent man, Montgomery, to 45 years in prison. That's right, 45 years in prison, based on nothing but an uncorroborated accusation. Now, fast forward 4 years, Elizabeth Coast, the very woman who made the allegation, is now working as a civilian employee at the police department. While involved with the police
Well, maybe that's why they gave him 45 years. I wonder how long she's been working there. But maybe that's, like I said, she's a part of the system. Now, I want to know, how did they find out? I wonder, did she come clean? Because she definitely wasn't answering any questions right there in the inaugural part of this.
Detective, she let slip that she had lied. She openly admitted that she had destroyed a man's life. A few days later, she went even further and recorded a full video confession. In it, she explained how she had falsely accused Montgomery because she had been caught by her mother reading sexual stories online. Rather than...
Now, I know, and I'm not, like I said, I don't want to be facetious, but think about that for a minute. You allowed this man to spend 4 years in prison for something you know he didn't do. I mean, it takes a different type person to let a person sit in prison like that, knowing that this person was innocent, completely innocent, never did nothing to you, and you would let him sit in prison for 4 years and not say nothing. It takes a different type of person to do that. I mean, think about that. You purposely ruined someone's life and you had no remorse. That man spent 4 years in prison. I just can't see myself doing that. I couldn't wish that on nobody. That's beyond me crazy that you could allow a person to spend that much time in prison and he didn't do it. You know for sure he didn't do it. All because your mother caught you reading some sexual explicit stuff. You can't make this stuff up.
Face the consequences of her own actions. She fabricated an accusation so devastating it stole a man's freedom.
Yeah.
Think about that. A man's life was shattered, locked in a cell, branded a criminal, and robbed of his future because of a lie. And you know what they do to people who have violated children in prison. I cannot imagine the things that actually happened to him.
Yep.
And our justice system, they enabled it. No physical evidence, no witness, no corroboration, just blind faith in one person's unverified claims. How does that happen?
That's sad. That is really sad and messed up, by the way.
Corroboration, just blind faith in one person's unverified claims. How does that happen in a system that claims to value truth and justice?
Ms. Coast, this is the man that you've sent to prison for 4 years on a lie, that you committed perjury and have now admitted to it. And I want to know why you lied. We interviewed Jonathan
I
Montgomery,
wonder why
who's
she
still in
lied,
prison.
too, 'cause-
Asked him, is he angry?
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed that she didn't come out with this sooner.
I don't have any comments. Please.
At least say that you're sorry. At least say that you're sorry. For Montgomery, it's a simple question of why.
Biggest three-letter word in the dictionary is why. Why do it at all? Why cover something up for something so small? It really bothers me to not know the why.
Coast never answered why, just a smile. Why are you smiling? Is this
Because he almost ran into a tree.
Is that funny? A judge vacated Montgomery's sentence and ordered him freed when it was learned that Coast, who worked with the Hampton Police Department, confessed to a detective that she lied about a sexual assault, lied at the trial, sent an innocent man to jail. That's what you told the
4
detective.
years in prison.
That's what you told her.
Like
You've
I said,
admitted
it
to
had to be
this.
horrible.
And all I want to know is, all Mr. Montgomery wants to know is, why? Why did you do this? And sadly, when Coast was given repeated opportunities to simply apologize, it was clear there was no apology coming. For the sense of decency, at least stop and say that you're sorry.
Jesus, get out of my way.
As you just heard in that segment, Elizabeth Montgomery admitted she had lied, and yet Montgomery remained behind bars.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
They're not letting you out
Despite
there
her
into-
confession, he was still locked up. Eventually, the governor issued a conditional pardon, not even a full exoneration, just a conditionally tethered lifeline. It wasn't until later that the courts finally declared him innocent. In other words, the justice system eventually acknowledged that the crime never even happened. The state awarded him only $175,000.
Wow. $175,000 for 4 years of your life. We got to fix that. We as people, we got to fix that. That's wrong. Not the 175,000, but for a man to have to go to prison, we got to do a better job of doing the detective work to find out whether a person actually committed a crime. There has to be something. We got to do something. This is outrageous.
And compensation for the years stolen from his life. Frankly, that is a pitiful sum when you consider the trauma, the lost time, and the irreparable damage done to him. And
because it's like it's like his time wasn't precious. Because time is more important than the actual money. I know people don't see it that way, but your time, the things that you do, the things you're able to do, is more than money. This is why, they take your time. Time is very special. It's very precious. To take 4 years out of a man's life, that's a whole, matter of fact, high school, 4 years. See, you took 4 years out of a man's life that did absolutely nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. You can't even, there's no money that you could fix this. He should have definitely got into the millions. It should have been well in the millions. You take 4 years out of a man's life, man, he should have got that times 4 what they gave him, because that's viciously wrong. The stuff that probably happened to him in prison, for the mental cruelty inside there. And this is depressing.
And Elizabeth Montgomery, she pled guilty to perjury after ruining a man's life and was sentenced. But where's the accountability? A false accusation destroyed a life, and the system was slow, almost reluctant to correct itself. This case isn't just about perjury. It's about how easily the truth can be buried and how costly that burying becomes when the justice system turns a blind eye.
This event is going to teach you how you can get started investing in real estate for as little as a few $100s.
Yeah, but it's sad.
Mistake that I've made and the lie that I told. And this is me taking responsibility for that.
In court, Coach said she lied about the sexual assault that sent Jonathan Montgomery away for 4.5 years. Coast said she didn't want to disappoint her mother, who was portrayed in court as a heavy-handed disciplinarian. Coast's mother caught her reading adult material, and that's when the lies began. Coast blamed Montgomery because her mother kept pushing the issue, and Montgomery had moved away, and Coast never thought that he would be found. But he was. Coast attorney Ron Smith said she should be given credit for coming forward, even though it took her almost 5 years. Judge Bonnie Jones agreed, giving Coast a 2-month sentence, which she can serve on weekends beginning this weekend.
I wanted to convey to the judge that if there's somebody else out there that did this, do you want to give a big sentence to somebody and send the wrong message? Don't come forward. We're going to lock you up.
Now, do you not know she falsely accused this young man of a crime and he didn't commit? You're not concerned with the other side of that? The other side of that is an innocent man or innocent person could go to prison for 4 years for being falsely accused of a crime they didn't commit. You're not concerned with people coming out and doing that to innocent people, but you're more concerned with a woman not coming out because this lady got a heavy fee for lying on a man that didn't do anything. Come on, we got to do better than that. We must.
And in the end, the judge believed that line of thought from attorney Ron Smith.
It's plain as day. This case exposed major cracks in our so-called justice system. Montgomery was convicted without a shred of physical evidence. This was textbook he said, she said, and somehow that alone was enough to send an innocent man to prison for 4 years. But here's what I really want to ask you. What do you make of her sentence? She didn't even get a full 2 months behind bars, just checking in on weekends in jail. Like, weekends? Is that really justice? Is that even close to being an acceptable punishment for someone who fabricated an entire story and destroyed a man's life? And don't forget, she didn't even confess out of remorse. She told a co-worker, and that person was the one who finally told the truth. Meanwhile, Montgomery sat in a cell labeled and forgotten. And if we're being honest, the sentence she received is an absolute slap in the face to every person who actually cares about truth and fairness.
That's right.
She should have gotten at least 4 years bare minimum.
Yep, she should have got
equal
the same
time
thing
for
he got.
what he served.
Yep.
She intentionally lied. She knowingly caused harm. That kind of damage deserves real consequences. And this excuse from the judge that punishing her might discourage real victims from coming forward, that's backwards logic. Holding liars accountable doesn't silence victims.
No, sure
it
don't.
deters false accusers. There's a difference, and it matters.
That's
If
what you
anything,
need to do, deter
punishing her
false
would protect the
accusers.
credibility of real victims by making it clear that the system takes truth seriously.
Exactly.
Don't let this kind of thing
Amen.
slide.
Preach.
And we've seen cases of this in modern times with Amber Heard and now the Blake Lively case. A woman could just make an accusation of sexual harassment or sexual assault or any type of assault or abuse, and the woman will automatically be believed, and the man can have his entire life ruined, even if there's no credible evidence. Even if it's proven that she's lying, that man can still lose everything in his life, his family, his job, his livelihood, his reputation. And because a lot of these lies come out and people just go with it. And then when the correction comes and when they're exonerated, well, then you hear nothing about it. And this is
There's a little writing on the backside of a newspaper, and you're right. You won't hear anything else about it. You won't hear what happened to the actually, well, the victim. Well, you hear he got his money, and then he'll just, I guess, ride away in the sunset. But that's how they make it sound. But by all means, it is. It's we have to do better, no matter how you cut it. I mean, the justice system has to do better. When you put an innocent man in prison for that long of time, that's not right. It really isn't. We're gonna end this video right here. I hope you like what you see, and if you got any thoughts, definitely comment in the comment section. Should a man have to go to jail for 4 years, and should the person who falsely accused him should they get off with a slap on the wrist? Weekend visits in prison, or weekend visits in jail, not even prison, but weekend visits in jail. It's something to think about, and it's something we all need to look into, because that's a serious offense to put a man in jail for 4 years. That's sad. But again, like I said, this is the LUKE-N-SHAE Place podcast. I hope you like what you saw. I hope everything is good with you. I'd like for you to keep it hot, keep things going, and definitely comment in the section. Like, subscribe. Definitely, I want you to spam the like button, like the video as much as you can. Get us in the algorithm. And like I say, stay blessed and, keep yourself out of harm's way.